Welcome back. Are you ready to seek mightier souls today? This is back where we fought the Pursuer. Back then we took a detour to get the Dranglake set, but now we're going to fully explore what is beyond his boss fight arena. A most imposing statue and a nest. The crow doesn't really seem to care whether or not they're carrying the Pursuer or some random Joe. The Lost Bastille actually has two different entrances, which is kind of a rarity in this game. You can either take the boat from No Man's Wharf, or you can take the giant bird from the Forest of Fallen Giants. This allows for a variety of different ways to tackle this area. I usually like to come in through the tower apart via the bird. Today we'll be using the scimitar, a curved sword. Curved swords are less powerful than straight swords, but they're quicker and you can easily change together multiple hits. We're also going to be using Magic Weapon. Magic Weapon has very low intelligence requirements and the effects are quite significant. These guys are Royal Swordsmen. They can be fairly difficult to take on in large numbers, and they do a lot of damage if they connect with their greatswords. Those exploding barrels are actually quite common throughout the Lost Bastille, so keep an eye out for them to see if you can use them to your advantage. The physics engine in this game is serviceable enough. It's not really a focus, but you can manipulate certain objects, like the exploding barrels. Our reward for this detour is the antiquated key and the covetous silver serpent ring. The ring is superfluous to us because we got the upgraded version from Melentia, but if you have not been buying many things from her or you just don't talk to NPCs very much, that is a very useful find. These big guys, undead wardens I believe, have high poise and high health, and they have a lot of reach with their great machetes. However, they're quite slow and vulnerable to just being chained to death. If it isn't Lucatiel, let's say hello.
I thought that might be you. You haven't changed a bit, have you? The longer I am here, the more madness I discover. A wretched place indeed, but not without traces of its former glory. What could have caused such degradation? Ah, yes, I have not thanked you for humoring me the other day. This is for you. Of course, I have no idea what it is. Our land of Mirror is surrounded by enemies and constantly at war. There is only one way up in Mirror. Join the Order and prove yourself in battle. My family had little fortune and no name. I had to carve out a piece of the world for myself. with two things: my sword and my loyalty to my lord. I was raised to wield a sword from birth. Life was hard, but I never gave it a second thought. I had swift success on the battlefield and quickly attained respectable stature. And then I came here to... Have you heard of the undead? These poor souls affected by the curse. An undead gradually loses his humanity until his wits degrade completely. Finally, he turns hollow and preys upon others. And a hollow can never be human again. One can skirt this wicked fate only with the help of the souls found here. Assuming, of course, that the legends are true. I can only hope that they are. I'm sorry to burden you with talk of my fate. I suppose I've grown weary these days. I'm sorry.
It's a bit difficult to see, but when she took off her mask, you could see that Lucatiel's left eye has started to rot and turn hollow. So it seems like us, she's on a bit of a timer. Very nice shadow effect there. I like that one a lot. The Lost Bastille is a large area with a lot of different paths and ways to go. These pathways are often treacherous, however, so let's try and pay more attention to that warden did. Since our scimitar is unupgraded, the extra boost that magic weapon gives us is very much appreciated. Gold pine resin, when used, will imbue a weapon with lightning for a short period of time. Pine resins are very useful for characters that don't invest much in spells. Wardens have a pretty big stack of health, but they're not too much trouble if you're careful. That was not supposed to happen. Attack dogs can really end up hurting you a lot through attrition because they attack quickly in a way that's difficult to reliably dodge or block. However, more troublesome is getting this barrel to cooperate. Our ultimate goal is to get it to the wall with the big crack in it. Unfortunately, this game does not give us a gravity gun equivalent, so we're forced to just sort of shove it around with our face. With it in place, we can toss a firebomb and blow open a secret entrance to a secret bonfire. I am just going to assume that if the guy over there with the hammer doesn't want us to take this stuff, he'll say something. There's quite a few crafting materials to be had in these chests, which makes sense because this appears to be a blacksmith workshop of some sort.
Oh, why can't they all be this easy? We've got a wild one here. Shape up. Shape up, I say. Oh, that's it, yes. That's the way. Dear flame, how brightly you burn. I ought to fetch a new ember. Flame, dear flame. I ought to...
Alright, that guy seems pretty well checked out from reality, but I'm feeling a little bad for him, and he seems to be quite enamored with fire, so let's light that brazier. It's a little dark in here for a blacksmith workshop, and probably a little cold, too. Back on our way. Not going to bother resting at that bonfire for now because we're still doing pretty well in Estus Flask shards and weapon durability and magic charges. However, that might change in the near future because this area can be a nasty wake-up call for newer players. We're going to switch to the spear for the extra damage and the extra reach. Magic weapon will work on any kind of weapon, provided that it does not have enchantments of its own that will interfere. Most weapons can be infused with magic weapon and other similar spells, which is good, especially in this situation because we are completely swarmed by royal swordsmen. There's a couple different ways to handle this encounter, and depending on your weapon, the best way to do so sort of varies. Usually I've found that sort of getting them into that choke point across the bridge and sort of poking them down from a distance or using a heavy weapon to hit them all at once usually works the best. The royal swordsmen are quite tough. They can survive a backstab even from our upgraded spear. They're also a little temporally mysterious. I'm not quite sure how he maneuvered himself from the ladder to behind me, but video games are weird sometimes. This door seems to serve no purpose except for getting you to walk out into thin air like some sort of idiot cartoon character. At any rate, we've explored more or less all we can here. So, it's time to tackle the boss. And for this boss, I am keen to get some help. Sadly, the werewolf is one game too early for his gimmick. This is not yet Bloodborne. But he's got a big sword and some nice armor, so... Pilgrim Belclair is an NPC summon who has access to some very powerful magic spells. With our posse thus assembled, we should be okay. Going to put some lightning on the spear, because the Ruined Sentinels, the next boss, are vulnerable to lightning. Now, the Ruined Sentinels, Alessia, Rike, and Yahim, can be very, very difficult if you approach them in the wrong way. They're also a little clumsy. They attack with their large hammers and tend to block with their shields quite proactively. They have very high poise and can't easily be staggered. When you defeat Yahim, the other two Sentinels will drop down to the main arena below. Now, if you are solo, this is a big problem, because you have to take on two of these behemoths at once. When they have more room to maneuver, they're fond of using jumping attacks as well as that sort of spinny hurricane of death. Now, I am not performing particularly well in this fight. I'm not quite sure why, but I continually mess up the timing on dodge rolling their attacks. So it's a good thing that I have two buddies to help bail me out. The attack where they leap up high into the air like that is especially difficult to dodge because it's much different timing from their shorter leap attack. Now, the strategy here with multiple people is fairly simple. You either gang up on one and kill it quickly, or you sort of split your forces and have one person take care of one sentinel while the other one takes care of the other, and the third person can just sort of do whatever. Fighting these guys alone, however, is a much different beast. It requires a lot of patience and a lot of waiting for openings. Oh, I feel bad for the werewolf. He died just as the boss did. Let's give him a bow as a sign of respect. Pilgrim Belclair just seems to hate walls. Now, the Ruined Sentinel Arena is absolutely lousy with hidden passages. It is entirely feasible to just go around the perimeter of the room, mash your face into the wall, and press A over and over again. Now, because the room is large, square, and relatively featureless, it can be sort of difficult to tell where and where you haven't checked. The rewards for this goose chase are okay. There's a couple of nice items you can pick up here. Whether or not it's really worth the trouble is sort of a different question. I believe that it's possible to make that jump from the other side because it's slightly higher up. And this is part of the problem with putting so many hidden passages in a room where the walls all look the same. I'm just trying to be thorough and make sure I haven't missed anything. It looks like I haven't. The target shield is another small parry shield. It offers reasonable protection for a small shield, so if that's something that you're interested in, then you might want to pick it up. If you're on a weight budget, small shields can actually be a lot more useful than you might think. Inside this secret room is a chest, and there was once an undead citizen waiting to explode on us. Now, you notice that my weapon brushed across the chest there. Wooden chests can only take 3 hits before they break and only give you rubbish, so be careful when fighting around them. Here we find the third bonfire of the area, the servants' quarters. That should about do it for today. Next time we'll explore more of the Lost Bastille from the No Man's Wharf side and pick up some goodies that we didn't get on this side. I hope to see you then.